Me right now is Alabama Republican Senator Luther Strange. Senator, good to have you on the program this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
And great to be with you.
I really want to focus on the agenda in a minute, but first, your reaction to the hearing yesterday and Jim Comey.
Well, some of the things that we learned about Jim Comey's conduct disturbs me. I think it was a good day for the president, a very good day, and I have to say I'm very confident in the work of the Bipartisan Intelligence Committee. They will get their work done. We'll get to the bottom of the story. With Bob Mueller's work, I'm confident we'll get to the truth. So I'm hoping we will now turn our attention to the agenda the American people want to see implemented.
Well, let me ask you, I mean, Jim Comey was very clear that he wrote memos, these were classified documents, and he gave that document to a friend of his. He said he was a professor at Columbia University, who then he expected to leak to the New York Times. So basically, under oath, Jim Comey just told us that he is leaking classified data to reporters. Do you think there's going to be an investigation about this? What's the follow-up on that?
Well, I'm sure there'll be follow-up on that. As a former attorney general, it's unprecedented in my experience. And when we're dealing with a situation of leaks anyway that we're concerned about that affect our national security and other things, it's troubling to hear that in a hearing, open hearing.
And the other thing is that he told us that Loretta Lynch, so here we are all speculating about whether or not President Trump was obstructing justice and getting involved in an investigation. Meanwhile, Jim Comey sitting there telling us that his boss at the time, Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General, told him to call an active investigation, an active FBI investigation of Hillary Clinton. He told her, she told him to call it a matter, not an investigation. That's obstructionism right there.
And unfortunately, he did change his description of the investigation and to make it consistent with the Clinton campaign. That raises a lot of red flags and issues that I'm sure will be followed up on.
Right. So again, where's the follow-up? I mean, I know your colleagues are likely going to follow up, but these are, to me, blockbuster items that came out of that testimony yesterday, Senator.
They are, totally,
yeah.
And I think that's why I say that the president had a good day yesterday, and it does raise a lot of issues that are concerning. But I, again, have confidence that the professionals in charge will get to the bottom of it. But we need to turn our attention to what I hope would be the president's agenda and things that the people in my state really care about. Infrastructure, of course, was supposed to be the subject this week. Tax reform, repealing and replacing Obamacare, lifting the regulatory burden on our people. That's what I hear about, Maria, every day in Alabama and from people around the country.
Yeah, that's what we hear about as well, Senator. I want to get right into it because the president's son yesterday, Donald Trump Jr., spoke to Sean Hannity last night, and he said that this hearing is over. Now everybody should be moving on. Listen to this.
This has been a 10-month witch hunt. This is the only thing that they had on Trump. This is what they did to distract him from being able to get the stuff done that he was elected to ultimately do. And I think now that this is all past, he can go back to doing what he promised he was going to do. There's no clouds. There's nothing getting in his way. They can't be obstructionist. He can go back to doing the things he said he was going to do for the American people.
All right, so, Senator, as we speak, a health care bill sits in the Senate. Can you tell us where it is and what the prospects of that becoming law?
Well, I hate to predict the prospects, but what encourages me is we've made the decision to come to a vote before the 4th of July recess. That means people need to focus their attention. The people in Alabama, our state has been particularly devastated by Obamacare. Our premiums for individual coverage have tripled. It's got to be addressed. It's collapsing around us. And so now the pressure is on for us to come up with a plan that actually brings premiums down, fixes the broken system we're dealing with. So I'm optimistic. I'm very optimistic.
So I understand. I've been told from the House that they're going to accept whatever the Senate delivers. Now, you think you can deliver a vote before the July 4th recess then? That's great news, Senator. And then we want to talk about tax reform, but go ahead, respond.
I'm going to do everything I can to make sure we get a vote and we get a bill out for the president's signature and the House can deal with. It's just critically important. I mean, that's what we're sent here to Washington to do. That's what we promised to do, and we've got to do it.
Let me ask you about the debate around tax reform, Senator, because the markets, investors, business, they all want to see tax reform take place. Do you think you can get tax reform done in short order after, in fact, this health care bill moves to a vote? And where is the debate in terms of deductions, in terms of the corporate rate? And, of course, in terms of that border adjustment tax?
Well, I don't hear much about the border adjustment tax, frankly, anymore. The goal is to reform our tax code, do some of the things the president talked about, all for the purpose of creating growth, opportunities for growth. And I hear more about the tax reform issue than probably any other, Maria, as I travel around. It's not just large corporations. It's pass-through entities, as you well know. It's returning money to the U.S. It's parked overseas. These are things that are all about growth, which is, I think, the bottom line measure of success for this president and for Congress. We have got to get this economy going.
So do you see a lot of debate around getting to common ground on tax reform? I mean, how do we know you're not going to have the same kind of fight on tax reform that we just saw the battle take place on health care?
Well, I think you have to anticipate the battle, because what is really going on here, beyond the Comey drama, is an agenda by the Democratic Party to prevent the Trump agenda. So not just in reform of policies, but in confirming nominees for cabinet posts. We're so far behind in that process because it's just obstruct, delay, obstruct, delay. So there'll certainly be a debate, but I can tell you the White House has made it a top priority. I've been to the White House, talked to the Treasury Secretary and others about what we want. So I think they're trying to get as much consensus up front before they present it to the American people. And I'm optimistic, but I want to get it right. I don't want to just rush something through. It needs to be done right.
Yes, of course. Senator, great analysis. We appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Luther Strange.